Good afternoon. Welcome to this first academic session. And I am Professor Deepti Tripathi. We have got 6 papers listed in this session, and we have been allotted time till 4 p.m. I would not go into the arithmetic of dividing time. I'll just request the speakers to be kind and considerate to fellow speakers and take only as much time as they think is absolutely essential to present their views on their respective subjects. Without further much ado, I would invite Dr. Om Prakash Pandey to speak on creation of universe on the basis of ancient literary sources. Dr. Pandey is, he's absent. Okay. Well, if he turns up, we'll see when he comes over. No problem. Then we have Daryush Akbar Zadeh. He's present. So let him come. Of the speakers, now I'll ask who is present here so that we can begin the session. Your good self and your good self. সুদীপ চক্রবর্তী, নিরঞ্জন পুরোহিত, আপনি আছেন? বেশ, তাহলে আপনি আরম্ভ করুন। এই দিকে এখানে এসে বসুন। Dr. Purohit is the head of the Department of Sanskrit in Purulia University, West Bengal. And please, may I request you to also tell the audience the topic on which you are going to speak, because the topic is not listed here.
A respected chairperson, Dr. Tripathi, and Dr. Pandey, and distinguished learned fellow. My topic is the place of Vedanta Sangha Prakaranam, an unpublished work in monistic Vedanta. At first, I want to say that there are so many unpublished works of great importance in monistic school of Vedanta, preserved in the libraries in different parts of the country and abroad. One such work is Vedanta Prakaranam in manuscript form. I found 5 manuscripts and collected the Xerox copies of that book. One preserved in Government Sanskrit College, Calcutta, entitled Vedanta Sangha Prakaranam. Second one, Vedanta Sangha, preserved in also in Sanskrit College Library. Vedanta Sangha Nirupanam in Asiatic Society, Calcutta. Vedanta Sangha Prakaranam, it is also found in National Library, Calcutta. And one is Vedanta Vyakha. It is found in Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad in Calcutta. These copies have been collected by me, and on these copies I tried to constitute a text. I want to say that this work will be highly appreciated in the sphere of monistic Vedanta if it gets light of publication. What is the importance of this manuscript? I found a published book entitled Vedanta Sangha in Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad Library, Calcutta. Call number 208, having only the skeleton of the text with Hindi translation. But unfortunately, neither the name of the publisher nor that of the editor is found anywhere in the book. At the end of the text and translation, we find the sentence, Sri Badari Purnavasi Gaura Vangsodhava Dijasali Grama Basati Vedanta Sangraha Sangha Prakaranam, etc., which is quite significant. It will be discussed under the separate head. However, from K.H. Potter's Encyclopedia of Indian Philosophy, Volume 1, it is known that a book was published from Gorakhpur under the title Vedanta Sangha Deepika long before, and that is ascribed to Aditya Puri, about whom all is wrapped in obscurity, and for this reason nothing can be safely be asserted in this respect. In this book, Vedanta Sangha Deepika, identical with the book Vedanta Sangha, due to non-availability of the former book, it will be unwise to identify it with the latter. However, the text of the published work contains almost the same matter found in the manuscript, but a lot of mistakes, grammatical and analytical, have been overlooked by the editor. However, another published work entitled Vedanta Sanghavali, edited by Kalivara Vedanta Tirtha, containing almost the same matters concised in the verses, has been found in National Library. Call number 180. About author and his date. The paucity of internal evidence wraps up the authorship and date of the text in obscurity. So it will be unwise to arrive at a conclusion on any flimsy ground in this respect. The author neither mentions his name nor the name of any other writer, contemporary or earlier in his work. So it is a very difficult task to determine the actual date and authorship of this composition. The external evidence, though of less importance, can in no way be ignored. In this book, Advaita Kosha Sangraha of a disciple of Ishtasiddhindra, published from Kanchipuram in 1958, a list of Advaita books is found, and it mentions that there are two big books bearing the same title, Vedanta Sangha Prakaranam, one ascribed to some Aditya Purna and other to an unknown author. It is also stated that the former book is published from Gita Press, Gorakhpur, but in spite of best effort, the information is not possible to collect from that end. The two books enlisted in the Advaita Kosha Grantha Sangraha are the same and may be identical with this book available in Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad library. If so, it will be simple to determine the authorship of the book. We may freely assume, viewing the exactness of few manuscripts in their matter enlisted in Advaita Grantha Kosha Sangraha, that the book available in the work may be ascribed to Aditya Purna, about whom nothing is known to us. Advaita philosophy is enriched with the creation of Ananda Purna, who wrote numerous works like Nyaya Chandrika and original work Vidyasagari, the commentary of Khandana Khandakadya of Sriharsha. He was also Gaura Vangshodhava. That we may know from Pandit N.S. Sastri, Introduction to Nyaya Chandrika. In Ananda Purna, identical with Aditya Purna, declared by the author of Advaita Grantha Kosha Sangraha to be the author of Vedanta Sangha Prakarana. However, on the basis of internal evidence from the text, a probable date may be fixed up for the composition of the work. The scribes of Asiatic of the manuscript preserved in Asiatic Society and one in Sanskrit library, Sanskrit College library, mention the dates of their copying 1857 AD and 1794 AD respectively. The card of National Library indicates the copying date of that manuscript 1700 AD. As regards the date of the author, none supplies any information that the author of our text frequently followed Vedanta Sara of Sadananda Yogindra of 16th century AD, and even copied the lines from him, shows that he must compose his work after the composition of Vedanta Sara. All these evidences show that the author flourished in a time between the 7th century AD and the time after the composition of Vedanta Sara. If Ananda Purna is identical with our author, then the date of the text be fixed up at the 16th century AD. As Mr. Telang points out that Ananda Purna lived after Sankara Misra of 1529 AD. As there is no definite proof regarding the identity between Aditya Purna and Ananda Purna, no strong decision can be adopted on flimsy ground. However, Vedanta Sanghavali, a metrical work containing almost the same theme, may be the work of later Advaitin teachers, and that is a separate work of separate style, and it does not further discussion. I may say about a technique of this presentation. Whoever may be the author, but his deep knowledge in the monistic Vedanta, as well as in all other branches of Indian philosophy like Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Saiva, Jaina and others, cannot be ignored. In this work, the author discussed all the relevant topics and theories of monistic philosophy, in short, without leaving anything untouched, in so simple and lucid manner that it is supposed to be composed for the beginners only. As empirical reality is not nullified in the Advaita philosophy, the author in this work has enumerated the world and its objects, considering them real from empirical standpoint. It is needless to mention that he, like a true Advaitin, has emphatically rejected their transcendental reality. Adharopavasat sangha santi iti prati apaditam. The remarkable technique employed here to establish the Advaita's tenets is that the author reputed the transcendental reality of this universe with the support of the traditional maxim Adhyaropapuvadadhyang nisprapanchang prapanchate. He has explained the terms relating to the world along with the objects with a view to establishing the monistic theory only and the empirical reality of this world side by side. Therefore our author frequently remarked in favor of non-dualism and said that the Vedanta establishes Brahman as unattached and secondless the one. On the other hand, the empirical world cannot be ignored till the nescience exists. When the knowledge of the Supreme Self dawns nescience along with its effect, the world appearance disperses. From the metaphysical standpoint, all worldly things, even the Shastras are false. All the Shastric terms have been defined here from the Shastric viewpoint only. In this booklet, the world and its objects have been explained through classifications, and for the author has adopted the aid of number. The number 1 is attributed only to the Supreme Reality, the consciousness, bliss, Brahman. On him, the only one, secondless, the world and its objects are superimposed due to ignorance. That world and its objects are classified into various types. So all the numbers from 2 are to be attributed to different worldly objects, excluding the self. So the technique adopted here for enumeration of the world and its objects through such numbering or categorizations seems to be a new one in Advaita literature. Not only that, the author's technique for dealing all the Vedantic tenets seems to be helpful to the beginners and those enthusiasts in this field. Herein lies the importance of this work. Thank you.
Actually, I request to all the participants who are presenting the paper, please be in the center and don't cross the limit, because we have only 20 minutes for one participant, 15 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for discussion. And time, we are strict on time. And second thing is that don't read the paper. You just, if you want to read, you are not capable to read the paper, then you present the abstract. Don't read the paper. Okay? If you are able to speak without helping the paper, then you can speak. No problem. In that way, you can summarize your subject. Are you getting? So please maintain the decorum of the conference.
I don't think it is a paper which would require too many questions, but it's a very important paper indeed, in as much as it brings to light an obscure and hitherto unknown text in the field of Advaita Vedanta. And therefore, thank you, Dr. Niranjan Purohit, for this presentation. And I'm quite sure this text would prove to be illuminating in its own right, because it belongs to a period about which we know very little in the field of Advaita Vedanta. Next, I would invite Dr. Shashi Tiwari to present her paper, and I would like her to first tell us the topic on which she would be speaking, and then present her paper in 15 minutes and leave 5 minutes for ignorants like us to ask her questions.
And I am especially thankful to Professor Deepti Tripathi ji for giving me this opportunity to present my paper. And I am also thankful to Dr. Pandey for giving me this opportunity to be here as a paper presenter. My paper is in English, and the subject is gratitude and devotion in the Vedic tradition. But as chairperson has requested or ordered me, I will be keeping paper aside and I will tell you what is in short in this paper. Gratitude and devotion. Generally, it is regarded that in Vedic tradition, there is no thought or concept about thanksgiving, and devotion is a later concept of during Puranas and in the medieval time when Bhakti cult was there. But I have tried here to show that the concept which were developed later on regarding devotion and gratitude are coming from Vedic religion and Vedic text, from Vedic text. So, firstly I have given a few inherent law principles which are referred to in the Rig Veda as Ritam is there, which is cosmic order. Then righteousness is there, which is called dharma. Then justice, virtue, all these things are there. But besides that, love to God is regarded as a good gesture or a good virtue, and it is in fact the essence of righteousness. And there are so many prayers about Shanti and Sham also. Sham is actually harmony, desire for harmony among all human beings, and to be peaceful or to be happy. So Sham is a very unique concept of Vedas, because if there will be Sham among each and everyone, among all creatures, among human beings, as there are prayers, Shamno bhavantu ushaso vibhati, Shamna parjanya bhavatu prajabhya, Shamna kshetra se patihi Shambhu. This is Vishwe Deva Sutta. So later on, God realization, as you all know, there are so many deities in the Vedas, but always they are considered as attributes of one God, Paramatman, and the famous verse is there, Ekam Sad Vipro Bahudha Vadanti. So after this, I have given that there are four paths are coming from Vedic religion: the path of knowledge, the path of action, the path of meditation, and the path of devotion. Generally, these three, the first three, path of knowledge, path of action, and path of devotion, these also involve devotion for their fulfillment, because without devotion there cannot be knowledge. As generally it is regarded that devotion, if knowledge is without devotion, then it will be mere information. So there should be a desire to know about God, but also there should be a desire to attain Him. So without this feeling of dedication or devotion towards God, true knowledge cannot be there. Then the path of action, which is Karma Yoga later on, and Gita is there, Nishkam Karma Yoga is developed. But this is also coming from Ishavashopanishad, Na Karma Lipyate Nara. And again, the first verse says Ishavashyamidam Sarvam. So without true knowledge of karma, you cannot attain the fruits of karma. And for getting the fruits of karma, devotion or offering towards God is a must. Dedication of fruits should be there to from the when we are offering obligations to God, then we should be very sincere about that. So like that, Krato Smar, Kritam Smar, in the last portion of Ishavasya we find these verses are there. Then yoga, path of yoga, as Yoga Sutra is Ishwar Pranidhanat. But again in the Kathopanishad, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we find that this yoga is a part of chanting also. Japa is there, chanting of Om is there. So this is again showing that meditation should be with dedication and devotion. So like that, path of devotion, which is originally the fourth part, but here there are so many mantras where God is regarded as Mata, Pita, Bandhu, like the Twamev Mata Cha Pita Twamev. So there are mantras also where devotion to God is shown like this, similar on the similar lines, and divine bless, divine help, Sham, Ayas, Mrad, Sumati, Vain, Mradata, Avita, all these are desired from God. The one verse is there, Agne, Ketur, Vishamati, Preshtaha, Preshta, Upasthat. He is the most beloved and the best. Here, superlatives are very important. He is beloved and he is the best. So this is just like a prayer we are taking in the later Sanskrit tradition. So this form of bhakti is in Vedic religion. In the Samved, as you know, that is called Upasana, for Upasana. So like that, points are here. I am leaving all these. And divine grace, and there is no difference between divine grace and devotee. So I have again quoted few verses from Atharved, from Rigved, from Yajurved and from Samved to show that always grace is desired by the devotee. And it is regarded that man's thanks should be always for God. Always. We should be thankful to God. Not just in modern context as thanksgiving is there, but always when devotee is praising God, and from the sunrise to the end of the day, always when he is performing yagyas, when he is doing prayers, he is very, very thankful. He is feeling gratitude towards God. Namo bharantah emasi triambakam yajamahe. So without devotion, all these prayers cannot be there. Bhuishtamte namahuktim vidhema. So humbleness is shown there towards God. Tejo asi tejo me dehi. All these prayers are there. Expression of gratitude to God is not very rare for Vedic tradition. Perfection pertains to providence, but even then they realize that man is the abode of errors and only God is perfect. So there should be admiration for the Almighty God. And later on, as you know, bhakti tradition was in our ancient India, and so many bhaktas and as Kabir, Ramanujacharya, Dadu, Sudas, Tulsidas, all these, they are not praying to God with bhakti without knowledge, without karma, and without yoga. So my concluding point is that these four paths are not exclusive. They are interrelated, and bhakti is undercurrent, just like undercurrent in all the three other paths.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shashi Tiwari. The paper is open for discussion. Any questions?
Pardon, sir?
The question is pertaining to what is the scope of the Vedic tradition? When we talk of Vedic tradition, what are the texts that we are referring to?
From the Rigved up to Upanishad. all texts are taken there for references. Because ancient wisdom is there and modern context is there.
You see, it can be developed into a philosophy of work, order, and life. When you take into consideration, and there has been a lot of discussion and talk about Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, so far as management is concerned these days. And therefore, if we start taking a view that these are the things that are needed for a person to function to the optimum in the best possible manner without getting into the stress and strain of work life that it exists these days, I think the relevance of taking these texts, studying them, and applying them in the modern context can be discovered and shown.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes, please.
It's more a sort of a clarification on what the other professor asked. I think this paper is very relevant for the modern days because obviously there is a feeling that the Vedas and the Upanishads address two areas, the Jnana Kand and the Bhakti, the Karma Kand. But Professor explained that sort of they are not mutually exclusive, but they combine to provide a holistic mix for today. Therefore, I think it's very, very relevant for the topic today.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, the exclusivity of Jnana Marga and Bhakti Marga and Karma Marga haven't been that clearly watertight, compartmentalized in our tradition ever. And therefore, there is an interconnectivity into all these things in different areas. They do converge, and by convergence only one can have a more balanced life and balanced thought process, as it were. So thank you very much for pointing that out. Any more questions? Well, so I take this paper has been well received. Thank you very much, Dr. Shashi Tiwari. And thanks to the learned scholars here on the paper. And now I invite Dr. Anju Seth from Delhi University, Satyavati College, to present her paper.
नमस्कार, परम आदरणीय दीप्ति त्रिपाठी मैम, जो हमेशा से मेरी आदर्श स्रोत रही हैं, प्रेरणा स्रोत रही हैं, डॉक्टर तिवारी मैम, जो हमेशा मेरी गुरु रही हैं, मुझे हमेशा आगे बढ़ने की प्रेरणा देती रही हैं, और अन्य सभी विद्वजन, आज मैं आपके समक्ष संस्कृत भाषा और तेलुगु भाषा का तुलनात्मक विवेचन इस विषय पर अपने विचार प्रस्तुत करूंगी। अक्षरा अघन्या दिव्यवाणी संस्कृत हमेशा ही उस अमृत कलश से भरी रही है जो विविध भारतीय भाषाओं को अपने रस से सिंचित करती रही है, और आज के इस युग में यदि संस्कृत भाषा हमारी अपनी बोलचाल वाली भाषा तक तेलुगु को भी इतना अधिक प्रभावित करती है तो वो हम सभी उस बात से चमत्कृत होते हैं। और हम देखा जाए तो तेलुगु भाषा सरकारी कामकाज की भाषा होने के साथ साथ आंध्र प्रदेश की मुख्य भाषा है और वहाँ क्लासिकल लैंग्वेज के रूप में प्रसिद्ध है और स्वीकारी भी गई है। यह भारत में बोली जाने वाली तीसरी मुख्य भाषा है, और न केवल भारत अपितु कई देशों में जैसे ऑस्ट्रेलिया, न्यूजीलैंड, कनाडा, फिजी, मलेशिया, सिंगापुर, मॉरिशस और आयरलैंड, यूके, यूएसए आदि देशों में भी बोली जाने वाली भाषा है। तेलुगु भाषा और संस्कृत भाषा में मुझे बहुत अधिक साम्य प्रतीत हुआ, और इसको मैंने दो दृष्टियों से देखने का प्रयत्न किया, एक तो व्याकरण दृष्टि से और एक व्यवहार दृष्टि से। व्याकरण दृष्टि से देखा जाए तो सबसे पहले मेरे पास उपलब्ध हुआ नानाय्या जी का लिखा हुआ आंध्र शब्द चिंतामणि। आंध्र शब्द चिंतामणि में मुझे पाणिनि व्याकरण से बहुत अधिक साम्य प्रतीत हुआ। ये 5 अध्यायों में विभक्त है, संज्ञा, संधि, क्रिया, समास और अजादि प्रकरण इत्यादि, और बहुत सिमिलरिटी मुझे इसमें प्राप्त हुई। इसके अतिरिक्त अथर्वणा और का लिखा हुआ और आगे भी चिन्नैया सूरी द्वारा लिखे गए बाल व्याकरण हमें प्राप्त हुए, जो बहुत अधिक पाणिनि से साम्य रखते हैं। और वर्ण विवेचन की दृष्टि से हम देखें तो सबसे पहले तेलुगु भाषा में अच और हल का प्रयोग प्राप्त होता है। पाणिनिवत यहाँ अचुल्लु और हल्लुलु उदाहरणों के द्वारा अच और हल का पूर्णतः विवेचन प्राप्त होता है और पूरी वर्ण प्रक्रिया हमें और वर्णों का विवेचन जितना वैज्ञानिक तरीके से पाणिनि ने हमें बताया वैसा ही हमें यथावत प्राप्त होता है। साठ हमें वर्ण प्राप्त होते हैं यहाँ और उन वर्णों का इतना ध्वनि वैज्ञानिक वर्णन, जैसे पाणिनि ने हमें माहेश्वर सूत्रों के माध्यम से बहुत अधिक ध्वनि वैज्ञानिक वर्णन दिया, उसी प्रकार पूरी उच्चारण प्रक्रिया और ध्वनि विज्ञान का बहुत सरल रीति से बहुत अच्छे से वर्णन हमें तेलुगु व्याकरण में प्राप्त होता है और ये बहुत बड़ा साम्य है जो सूत्रों के माध्यम से भी पूर्णतः स्पष्ट होता है। इसके अतिरिक्त हम उच्चारण प्रक्रिया पर आए तो उच्चारण प्रक्रिया की दृष्टि से भी श्वासम, नादम, अल्पप्राणम, महाप्राणम शब्द यथावत संस्कृत भाषावती तेलुगु में हमें प्राप्त होते हैं। और विभक्ति रचना की दृष्टि से हम आए तो संस्कृतवत पूरी 8 विभक्तियों का प्रयोग हमें यहाँ प्राप्त होता है और ये प्रत्युल्लु के नाम से हमें उपलब्ध होती है। वाक्य रचना की दृष्टि से हम देखें तो हमारी वाक्य रचना में जैसे कर्ता, कर्म और क्रिया का प्रयोग होता है संस्कृत में, इनका भी वही पदक्रम रहता है, वही ऑर्डर रहता है और पूरा रामा विद्यालयम गच्छति के स्थान पर रामः बालकी वेंताड़ू पूरी सब्जेक्ट, ऑब्जेक्ट एंड वर्ब सेम का सेम प्रोसेस हमें प्राप्त होता है। और आगे हम चलते हैं तो छंद और अलंकारों की दृष्टि से भी हमें संपूर्णता साम्य प्राप्त होता है। जैसे अलंकार हमारी संस्कृत भाषा में शोभादायक तत्व हैं, तेलुगु की काव्य रचना में भी शोभादायक तत्व होते हैं और वैसे ही वृत्यानुप्रास, छेकानुप्रास इसी नामों के साथ इन्हीं अलंकारों का प्रयोग हमें प्राप्त होता है। उत्प्रेक्षा और यमक आदि का भी ये मुख्य उदाहरण मुझे जो प्राप्त हुए उसका मैं आपको संक्षेप में बता रही हूँ। समास और संधि के क्षेत्र में हमें अभूतपूर्व समानता प्राप्त होती है। यणादेश संधि है तो वहाँ भी देवा प्लस इंद्र देवेंद्र हमें प्राप्त होता है। सरलादेश, रूरादेश और दीर्घीकरण, सरलीकरण ये सभी संधियां हमें इसी नाम के साथ हमें प्राप्त होती हैं। और अकार सवर्णे दीर्घा पाणिनि के सूत्र का बिल्कुल सेम हमें वहाँ राम अवतारः, राम प्लस अवतारः के रूप में प्राप्त होता है। और इसके बाद हम समास की दृष्टि से देखें तो आम्रेडित समास तक का भी वर्णन हमें नानैया के ग्रामर में प्राप्त होता है। और इसके अतिरिक्त तत्पुरुष, द्विगु और द्वंद्व में जैसे हमें हम विभक्ति राम शिवश्च केशवश्च शिव केशवों के हिसाब से लगाते हैं, उसी प्रकार यहाँ भी राम लक्ष्मणौ, यदि राम लक्ष्मण लू है तो राम लक्ष्मण लू बन के वो विभक्ति हमारे पास पूरा शब्द प्राप्त होता है। इसी प्रकार व्यवहार की दृष्टि से हम देखें तो अनेक शब्द ऐसे हैं जिसमें हमें बहुत अधिक साम्य प्राप्त होता है। सर्वनाम शब्दों की दृष्टि से जैसे देखें तो हम शब्द को व्यक्त करने के लिए मामोमू, मा नामू शब्द का प्रयोग है और वयम के लिए मेमू शब्द का प्रयोग हमें अक्सर प्राप्त होता है। व्यक्ति के जीवन में पूजा पाठ का बहुत अधिक महत्व होता है जिसमें देवतावाची शब्दों का प्रयोग स्थान स्थान पर किया जाता है। रामः के लिए रामडू, कृष्णः के लिए कृष्णडू, डू प्रत्यय का प्रयोग डू, लू और मू इन प्रत्ययों सहित यथावत संस्कृत शब्दों का प्रयोग हमें प्राप्त होता है। सीता का एज इट इज सीता शब्द का प्रयोग होता है और दुर्गा माँ के लिए दुर्गम्मा शब्द का प्रयोग हमें अधिकांश रूप से पाया जाता है। और अन्य शब्दों की भी हम समानता ग्रहण करें तो जितनी मधुरमा के साथ, मधुरिमा और सरलता के साथ संस्कृत में विद्यमान है, उन्हीं भावों, उन्हीं अर्थों में उतनी मधुरिमा के साथ तेलुगु में हमें प्राप्त होते हैं। जैसे अमृत, संस्कृत का अमृतम अमृतमु, रत्न रत्नमु, पुष्प पुष्पमु, लेकिन कुछ शब्द यथावत प्राप्त होते हैं जैसे अग्नि ही, तेलुगु में भी अग्नि, पाठः तो पाठा ही हमें प्राप्त होता है। संबंधवाचक शब्दों में हमें थोड़ी सी भिन्नता नजर आती है, जैसे जनकः तो तेलुगु में नाना शब्द हमें प्राप्त होता है। अग्रजः अन्नः हम उन्हें कहते हैं और अनुजः तो तमड़ु शब्द का हमें प्रयोग प्राप्त होता है। इसी प्रकार वर्णवाची शब्दों में हमें बिल्कुल यथावत शब्द प्राप्त होते हैं, जैसे श्वेतः है तो श्वेतः ही है, संस्कृत में यदि रक्तः है तो वहाँ रक्तम है, नीलम नीलः है तो नीलम शब्द का हमें प्रयोग प्राप्त होता है। दैनंदिन प्रयोग की व्यवहार की वस्तुएं जो हमारे आम जीवन की प्रयोग आती हैं उनमें हमें यथावत शब्दों का प्रयोग प्राप्त होता है।
धन्यवाद अंजू जी, आपने बड़ा सुंदर तुलनात्मक प्रस्तुतिकरण किया आधुनिक तेलुगु का, संस्कृत किस प्रकार उसको प्रभावित करती है, दोनों में कहाँ-कहाँ सामंजस्य दिखाई पड़ता है, और उस सामंजस्य को आपने ध्वनि के स्तर से लेकर के और वाक्य के स्तर तक पहुंचाया। तो इस तुलनात्मक प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए आपका साधुवाद। प्रश्न के लिए प्रस्तुत है, प्लीज।
Thank you so much for the suggestions.
ये भाषाएं कई देशों में गई हैं, तो इस लिहाज से कहीं न कहीं सर ने जो कहा कि देशज या फिर वो जो क्लासिकल और जो लोकल की बात है, उन सब से हटके इस दृष्टिकोण से भी इस पर बातें होनी चाहिए।
एक्चुअली मैं आपके प्रश्न को मैंने मूल रूप से भाषा शास्त्रीय दृष्टि से जितना अधिकतम अध्ययन हो सकता था किया है। आगे भविष्य में मैं फिर इस पे भी और देखने की प्रयास करूंगी।
मैडम ने जब बोल दिया था तो कहना क्या है हम लोगों को, जब मैडम रिमार्क कर दिया।
डॉक्टर मिश्र का प्रश्न बड़ा सुंदर है। देखिए, जब किन्हीं दो भाषाओं का तुलनात्मक अध्ययन होता है तो उसका परिपूर्ण अध्ययन करने के लिए सभी पक्षों की बात जरूरी होती है। इसलिए आपका कहना सही है कि समाजशास्त्रीय पक्ष भी होना चाहिए और उसमें कहीं भौगोलिक पक्ष भी होना चाहिए और व्याकरणिक पक्ष भी होना चाहिए। आपने जैसा कहा कि देशज शब्द हैं और उसके साथ साथ तत्सम शब्द हैं और तद्भव शब्द हैं, ये सारे शब्द भी है। यह पूरा का पूरा विषय अपने आप में मेरा ख्याल है कि एक एडवांस्ड लेवल के रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट का विषय है। इस पूरे क्षेत्र को एक रिसर्च पेपर में 15 मिनट में समेट करके प्रस्तुत कर देना न संभव है और न विषय के साथ न्याय है और न उचित होगा। जो बात अंजू जी बताना चाहती थी, मेरा ख्याल है कि वो केवल इतना था कि संस्कृत ने जो भारतीय आर्य भाषाओं से भिन्न परिवारों की भाषाएं हैं और इस संदर्भ में द्रविड़ परिवार की भाषा को उन्होंने लिया। उन भाषाओं को भी काफी दूर तक प्रभावित किया है। वो भाषाएं संस्कृत से शास्त्र के संदर्भ में भी प्रेरित होती रही हैं, क्योंकि उनका व्याकरण संस्कृत के व्याकरण से प्रेरित रहा है और उसके साथ साथ संस्कृत कहीं न कहीं किसी रूप में तत्सम शब्दों के ग्रहण के लिए स्रोत भाषा के रूप में काम करती रही है। एक यह धारणा कि संस्कृत भारत ईरानी परिवार की भाषा, इसलिए भारतीय आर्य भाषाओं से ही संबद्ध है, अन्य परिवार की भाषाओं से उसका कोई संबंध या प्रभाव नहीं रहा है, यह भ्रांति इस पत्र से थोड़ी दूर तक हमें सोचने को बाध्य करेगी, मुझे ऐसा विश्वास है। और इसके लिए अंजू जी धन्यवाद और साधुवाद की पात्र हैं। आपने जो प्रश्न उठाया उससे असहमत होने का तो प्रश्न ही नहीं उठता है। मिश्र जी ने जो बात कही वो भाषा के सर्वांगीण विवेचन का अभिन्न अंग होना चाहिए। मेरा ख्याल है कि आगे जो शोधकर्ता इस दिशा में बढ़ने की कोशिश करते हैं वो इन विषयों को भी साथ में लेकर चलेंगे, तो ये एक आरंभ जो बीजारोपण माना जा सकता है पुष्पित और पल्लवित हो सकेगा। धन्यवाद।
ये इनका जो अनिकेत मैडम का जो पेपर था, मैं तो मिस कर गया, मैं ऊपर चला गया था, संस्कृत और तेलुगु भाषा। तो ये पेपर मैंने एक्चुअली आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में रखा था और ये सोच करके कि जो कंप्यूटर साइंस में जो है, जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि संस्कृत का को ज़्यादा साइंटिफिक लैंग्वेज है, अगर कंप्यूटर साइंस की दृष्टि से उसको अगर किया जाए, और तो तेलुगु भी उसी तरह से, दोनों में कोई बहुत ज़्यादा वो अंतर नहीं है, केवल उसका प्रोनाउंसिएशन में या अल्फाबेट में, राइटिंग में डिफरेंस हो सकता है, और जो उसका जो स्ट्रक्चर है उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं है। वो कंप्यूटर साइंस की दृष्टि से दोनों ही भाषाएं, चाहे वो द्रविड़ हो चाहे आर्य भाषाएं हो, वो साइंटिफिक है और दैट कैन बी एक्सेसिबल।
So we come to the end of this paper, and I now invite Daryush Akbarzadeh to present his paper entitled Again on Indian Tales and Relations Between Iran and India. I'm quite sure this is going to be an interesting paper.
Let me to thank you, Professor Kandi, and you. I hope my presentation doesn't make troubles for all of you, where I focus on Indian and Iranian historical relations and technical terms based on Persian literature. Now I turn to my title, Again on Indian Tales and Relations Between Iran and India, Sanskrit text Sasanian and Pro-Sasanian. Historical relations between... I know, but I'm not able to read it. Historical relations between Iran and India date back to a long time ago. The term Indo-Iranian language as one of the most important Indo-European language is a witness to such a claim. In the era of Iranian ancient languages and in inscription of Darius the Great, the term Hindav Avesta, Hindu or Hindav, has been interpreted as on the upper of Indus River. Unfortunately, you have not laser point to show. This is introduction. How Achaemenid text in south of Iran preserve toponym, I mean India. This is inscriptions from Darius the Great, 5th century BC. Please go next. And this is again Achaemenid period, Xerxes Darius the Great son in Persepolis. And go next, please, because of time. This is Avesta, because all Indologists, they know very well Avesta. Uspaiti Adat and Sapitamai Zarastushtrai, and last line, Hinduma I Hishtinti. India is a like few historical name in Avesta, because content of Avesta is mythological, But here you can find India as a few historical names, very important as my background. In the Middle Persian languages means 331 Alexander arrival to Iran to collapse of Sasanian 651 AD. The toponym India, with the help of text, has been understood to be one of the most recognizable territories. Some of the Sasanian kings had the toponym, India, in their title. Dinkard, Zoroastrian Encyclopedia, preserves many titles of Indian scientific text. Next. This is from Sasanian time, Bondehesh text. It's one of the most important texts you can find. Index text, detailed information on India. This text gives us excellent information related to, toponyms, cities, Kashmir, west of Asia, rivers, everything, even religious data. Please next. And on right you can find a royal inscription of Shapur in Sasanian time. I showed by circle name of India in the title of this king of Iran, Sakistan, and Hindu or Hind. But another text against Sasanian ایدان گوین که اندر خودایی خسرو انوشک روان بزرگ شهریار هندوگان. This is Pahlavi, official language of Sasanian time, shows close and friendship relation, especially under Khosrow I, Khosrow Anushiravan, great Iranian king, 6 AD. Post-Sasanian texts also preserve many Indian tales, where I believe some of them were translated into Pahlavi. Pahlavi was official language of Sasanian time, and later to Arabic because of socio-political situation of Iran under Arabs' invasion. The series of tales are full of great moral advices, knowledge. I focus on this topic to show why such texts were translated into Pahlavi in Sasanian and post-Sasanian period. In my opinion, Iran in Sasanian period and during some kingdoms had been strongly under the influences of such characteristics. This social stratification during some Sasanian king could be an excuse for using and translating this Indic text. In Iran, Khosrow I and Khosrow II in Sasanian period were two glorious and unique periods in the history of the country, Iran. Most relations between Iran and India are comprehensible through sources connecting to these two great kings. Nonetheless, special social situation and stratification in these two periods could be a start for translating some allegories Indian sources, with Khosrow started. In Eastern traditions, Khosrow I, symbol of justice, and Arabo-Persian authors have quoted much anecdotes describing his effort to preserve justice. The great period of literary and philosophical culture was started with his kingdom. He is one of the most hard-working kings of Iran. Anushiravan, except his great administrative reforms, was very interested to other culture, especially to India. This one is strongly confirmed by Sasanian texts such as chess texts and post-Sasanian such as Shahnameh Ferdowsi. This is chess text Pahlavi. Please go next. Here is Dinkard IV from Sasanian time. Of course, you can find translation who show connections, especially scientific relation between two sides, Iran and India. Please go next. Again, in Bondehesh, we have very technical terms for Hindustan. Author use Hindugan for India. Hindugan means two meaning. One is definitely is India, and second one can be border China and India, Buddhism area. Definitely not proper country, India. Please go to next. And the Manekian text again knows very well India. Go to post, okay, next please. Because of time, sorry. This is post-Sasanian text. I have not laser point, but you can find Al-Hindu wal-Fars and another Al-Sino wa-Ma'sin, and 4 climates left. You can find Hind, Sindh, Sajistan, Sistan, Kerman, Fars, etc. in post-Sasanian text as a part of fixed reports by Muslim writers. Many Indian archaeological evidence and text both confirm that Khosrow first established some offices to support dervishes and poor people because of the very bad social and economic conditions. It's very clear that His administrative reforms changed face of the country. A part of the Sasanian text, his efforts are understandable through post-Sasanian texts like Shahnameh Ferdowsi, Tarikh Sa'alabi. Ferdowsi has preserved a series of Indian tales under Khosrow I. Many Indian written heritages were translated into Pahlavi language under translation movement. Translation movement started with Khosrow I. It is obvious that Sasanian oral and written heritages enriched post-Sasanian texts. I would like to read a list of Indian tales and stories which were translated from Sanskrit into Pahlavi in this time as written sources. Most of these sources are easily understandable by post-Sasanian texts. Please go to next. Please next. Because I'm not very smart in computer, but okay, no, it's okay. So blue, this is Indian tales, Simas and Farazatel, Blush an Indian girl, but we have not text at moment, only we know, title. But Talkhand and Gav tale, this is Indian, translated definitely from Sanskrit to Pahlavi, Sasanian time. We have it in Shahnameh Ferdowsi, but about other black. Sukha Saptati text, Panchakyana text, Kalileva Demne or Panchatantra, or Sintipas text, minor or great Sintipas, or chess text, all of them translated definitely from Sanskrit into Pahlavi under Sasanian, especially Khosrow I. Post-Sasanian text, especially Ibn Nadim, also has mentioned a series of Indic texts. Tales, literary, and advices by Ibn Nadim, Indian generous, miser and poor among them, of Indian kings, Indian Shana, great Sintapas text, minor Sintapas text, Buddha text, Buzas text, again Buzas text, India and China literature, India and Adam's descent, manner, Indian Turkey tale, man and his wife, Indian logic text, Indian king, battle and swimmer doctrine of Shanak, tasty wine, beat pie and wisdom, Kalileva Demne or Panchatantra, many texts mentioned by Ibn Nadim. In short, it is not difficult to give a general category for Indic text under Sasanian and post-Sasanian periods. One is scientific text, like Indian mathematics, or a list of Indian herbal mythic. Romance text, like Indian Turkey tale, man and his wife, Balash and Indian girl. Buddhist text, like Blahwar and Buzas, Buddha text, Buzas. And animal language text, animal speakers like Kalileva Demne, Panchakyane, Tutiname or Sukha Saptati, Bidpai and Wisdom, etc. The texts such as number 1 to 3, because of emergence of especially Buddha, approximately are normal due to the long historical and cultural relations between the two sides. There is no doubt that Khosrow I is one of the brightest period of the beloved country, but I want to make some questions for first time. Why text number 4, like Kalileva Demne, Panchatantra, why translated into Pahlavi under him? Can we absolutely rely on the resources where this king appears as a symbol of justice? These texts are always governmental texts or are the religious texts? It is very normal governmental texts support king. It seems that this king had many troubles for his idea, at least at his beginning of his reign. His opponents were killed one by one by him, and most probably they smartly used some Indic text to explain socio-political situation of Iran. The content of these stories contain moral, ethics, lesson in humanity, or sometimes powerful creatures, animals, are captured and beaten by weak creature which can be a wish, not a real. I have a very special sample for this claim, which can be an Indian tale originally, which is donkey tale and narrated by Khaja Nizam al-Mulk. He narrated a story which is as follows. It is said that when Noshiravan, Khosrow I, a just king, came to the throne, he was known for his justice since his childhood. After 3 or 4 years of his kingdom, Noshiravan ordered to build a chain and hang some little bell on it so that a hand of 7-year-old child can reach to them. Whenever an oppressed one came to him, shake the chain to ring 2 bells, and Noshiravan could hear the voice and call the person and hear him and his merits acknowledged. After 7.5 years, one day, there was nobody at the court, and the guardians were sleeping. Suddenly a sound was heard from the bells. Noshiravan sent two servants to see who was coming for his ride. When the servant went to the chen by the phone, an old, skinny, and bald donkey that came to the court and was rubbing down its body to the bells. The servant came to the king and told him that there was nobody but an old, skinny, and bald donkey. Noshiravan said, "Too fool, this donkey is coming for his ride. I want you to go to show it around the city and ask everybody about this donkey to know what has happened to it." The servant took the donkey to the city and market and asked people about it. Everybody knew the donkey, and they told the servant every day, "We saw this donkey with a huge pile of clothes on its back going to the wash house and took them back at night. As long as it was young and could work, they feed it, but now that is old and unable to work, they free it and send it out of house." When the servant informed Noshiravan, he said, "I was right. That is, that this donkey was coming for his ride. Keep the donkey here and entrain it. Tomorrow call the washman and 4 aldermen of neighborhood and the donkey to the court, and I will educate on the matter." The other day the servant took washman, 4 aldermen, and donkey to the court. Noshiravan told the washman, "As long as the donkey was young and could work, you feed and took care of it. Now that is old and unable to work, you feed and send it out of home. What happened to it after 20 years works and suffering?" Noshiravan ordered it to lash the washman 40 times and ordered him to feed the donkey whatever it wants, and if he neglected carrying out his duty, Noshiravan would punish you in a bad way. Abul Fada suggested this tale for almost 4 in Sasanian time. I would like also make a big question why this series of texts, Indians, once again when translated from Pahlavi into Arabic under Caliph's invasion. It is very obvious that Zoroastrians conserved only their religious books, more nothing. With the advent of Islam in Iran, of course. For this reason, many Sasanian texts destroyed. It is very clear thing. It is very clear thing in the academic world. But why Iranians, especially scholars like Ruzbeh or Ruzbeh Dadwei, Ibn Muqaffa, translated such a text from Pahlavi to Arabic? It seems these stories were popular in Iran under caliphs, where the collapse of the country occurred by Arabs. I think the translators profited this text to show their hates to power as well as morality, which had been weakened in this society. In short, I don't doubt that Khosrow first was interested in details, but I think that his opponents profited a series text such as Panchatantra, or like it to express that weakened people suffered by the powers. It is possible to explain Borzoi's visit to India under him to find Kelileva Demna Panchatantra, under same way where Borzoi is symbol of vice. A strange donkey's tale, at least, confirms my claim. I believe also we should focus on same reason for the translation such a text with the advent of Islam, when situation of Iran was explained very badly. So it will be a question why they try to translate such a text under badly socio-political situation, when some of translators like Ruzbeh Dadwei were massacred by the new people, Arab, due to the gully of Zoroastrianism. Thank you.
It was perfect. A very interesting paper indeed. A very, very interesting paper. And I'm quite sure, in spite of a bit of unfamiliarity with the Iranian pronunciation of English, we did quite follow what you said and appreciated all that you had to present. Any questions?
Pahlavi language, imbibed the Indian culture and then established an empire also here. Do you have any answer for that?
Aha. You see, in South, the scholar here informs us that in South India there was a people called Pahlavas.
No, Parsi.
No, Pallavas. We are talking of the Pallava. I don't think the Pallavas are related to the Pahlavi language or anything of that sort. The Pallava Empire was an entirely different thing altogether. Yes, please. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, please.
Yeah, this is a very good paper, and it reminds of ancient Indian history of about 3 to 4, 5 century AD.
Yes.
And that is the time when Panchatantra was translated into Pahlavi and then
To Arabic.
And that is the reason these stories of are originally from Panchatantra. Sometimes they remind
We call this Khalile wa Damne.
This is the version, and it is said that later on, from that translation, it was again done in Sanskrit. Here it was lost. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but in this Indian Sanskrit history books we find this type of statement that original Sanskrit text in Panchatantra was nowhere in India. Later from that translation, we get it translated into Sanskrit.
Yeah, another thing is Panchakyana, original manuscript is in National Museum of Delhi, which was translated directly from Sanskrit to Pahlavi by Falakdat. Do you know?
Yeah.
One time was Tarachanda and Abdi and Jalaliya Naini translated.
And you also talked about Sukha Saptati.
Yeah, Sukha Saptati or Shukha Saptati.
So that is
Tuti Name. In Persian we have a series text as Tuti Name. Tuti Name means Sukha Saptati. Yeah, from after the collapse of Sasanian to 13th, 14th century, we have many Tuti Name affected by India.
So it gives a good picture of our ancient India, but in here we say this is dark period, there is no history. But our text and our references are far away in other countries during that period.
Yeah, unfortunately, problem is here we have not expertise of Avesta and Pahlavi in India, same Indologists in Iran. Of course, the Parsi community maybe 40, 50 years ago, like Jamaat Asana or like in Kelsaria, from that time they were active in Gamma institutes and ways. But no, I don't know.
So do you know Sanskrit or?
I teach elementary Sanskrit in Cantonese because I
So original text have you said.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shashi Tiwari. Yes, Dr. Mishra.
Thank you. Of course.
Use the word in your title again.
Yeah.
Again.
Because I
revise that feelings, perhaps. And that should be more elaborated here.
Yeah.
In further paper, I hope. But how do you be nostalgic? What's your homesickness regarding India? Having put through these papers, such type of pages of Indian mind.
Yeah, because I published the first part of your speech, because I published, I think, 5 or 4 articles under print and published on Indian tales and historical relation, cultural relation between Iran and India, because I teach Pahlavi language. I'm expert of Sasanian time. And this time I used again, because one of my articles is in print as a scientific relation between Iran and India by Dr. Pandi, and another is Indian text and Sasanian text. For that, by force I use again. If some people read my paper, they can understand it's not repetitive, not formal paper. For that I use again to show how socio-political situation maybe is a case Iranian translated in
Indian text full of knowledge advisor.
That,
Sorry? In Sasanian text, we don't know who is, we don't know in Sasanian, but Tutiname in another period, I mean Islamic period, we have many, different. But by Sasanian text, we don't know, only we have name, title. Only we have title.
thank you very much indeed, Dr. Daryush. I think we'll call it a day now. We can discuss it after the session is over. We have got 2 more papers and only 25 minutes left. Sudeep Chakravarti. अजय झा को इसमें इंटरव्यू है, अजय मिश्रा करना है भैया, समय नहीं है, आपके काम को चालू दे दो, जिसका हो जाएगा कर लो, उसको अगले सेशन में डालो. सुदीप चक्रवर्ती 25 मिनट समय. So now I call upon Dr. Sudeep Chakravarti of Sidhu Kanu Birsa University, Purulia, to present his paper on Mitchakatikam, its present relevance.
At first, I offer my hearty respect to Professor Tripathi and Pandeyji, and honored to the distinguished scholars. The title of my paper is Mitchakotiko, its present relevance. The present paper attains much more inspiration from the report of the esteemed paper The Hindu, dated 18/1/2013. The title of the report is Benda Kalu on Toast, a Kannada play by Girish Conrad. Conrad has drawn his material from various sources like myth, history, folklore, etc. It is very interesting to note that Conrad, in his author's preface, declares that the play is his humble tribute to Sudraka's play Mitchakatika. In present time, in 2012 and 13, a play was written by Conrad, and this attained much more inspiration from Mitchakatika. There are many points I would like to point, like character of autocracy, advent of democracy, culture of fine arts, place of women, poverty, passionate love, black side of the society, victory of truth, which seem to be acquainted with the news which gains headlines of the media. At first, autocracy. In democratic atmosphere like India, the politicians misuse the power, and such kind of misusing was seen in Mitchakotiko. When Sokaro go to the court, after the time who was over of the court, he told that his allegation must be taken. Then the judge told, Bhadro, niskramya uchyatam, gachya adyana drishyati tava vyavaharo. In reply, Shokaro remarked that he must replace the judge by reporting the fact to the king and royal mother. If the judge did not agree to take the case at that very moment, and he should place another judge therein. It does not happen today. Ina drishyate mama vyavaharo, yadi na drishyate, tad avuttam rajanam palakam bhaginipating vigyapya matarancha vidnapya etam adhikaranikam durikritya atra anyam adhikaranikam sthapayishyami. Such kind of incidents are happening even at present. Money and political power drives the justice in favor of their self. Moreover, the systems like police and investigation agencies and etc. are controlled by them. Such kind of practice should be stopped at any cost. Advent of democracy is also seen therein. at Act 10, Pashubad Vitate Yasne Hatastinadya Palaka, when Palak was replaced. And there was also an announcement in Act 4 that Esa Khalu Aryaku Gopaladaraku Raja Bhavishyati. At that moment in Mechagotiko, we see that a man from lower strata of the society was able to come on the power at the result of democracy, as the most sections of the people wanted them to see him as a king. And culture of fine arts, it is ancient Indian heritage, and that was also seen in Michakotiko. The sound of rain was compared with the various kinds of tunes of music like Talishu Tarang, Bitapishu Mandrang, Shilashu Ruksang, Shalilishu Chandam, Sangita Vina Ivatadi Omana, Salanu Sharina Patan Pitaraha. So in India we also now culture the fine arts and crafts, so it is also relevant. The theft was also considered as one kind of kola in Michakotiko also, like Natya Shastram. And place of women, in ancient India there was a practice of having Nagarabadhus, or brides of the town. So there is a rich heritage in India of prostitution, but due to some reason we cannot easily accept the profession of the sex workers. Most of us do not show any sort of sympathy to them. But is it true even at present? Because they are the honorable members of our society, they are professionally prostitution, but they somehow seek some sorts of humanitarian behavior. But most of us do not show any humanity to them. But even some of them, or the sex workers, know many languages. In Michakotiko, Basanta Sena was called as Oi Devatuko Sthanu Jugga Jugutriyam. She was called as the ornament of the city of Ujjain. But it is true that the honor did not go to all courtesans. Only the prostitutes who had education, wealth, unfathomable beauty, and mastery over music, dance, etc. Gained the honor, but not for the profession. They attained honor for their quality, but not for their profession. It is a matter of deep grief that women were considered as the enjoyable thing in most cases. It is also seen in present world. The advertisements in the televisions are the proofs. Their honor was frequently harassed in the hands of the lustful persons. The women generally adorned themselves with the ornaments. The Shokar disturbed Basanta Sena many times against her will. He almost killed Basanta Sena in his own hand. This incident may be compared with the present incidents like the Amin case, which are taking place day to day in our civilized society. Poverty is one another thing. We frequently hear in time of election Udiyaman Bharat and Astayaman Bharat. And what is Astayaman Bharat? Poverty is still prevailing in India. In Michakotiko Act 1, we see the verse Daridran Maranatva Ruchate. Daridran Maranatva Maranang Mama Ruchate Na Daridram Alpu Kleshang Maranang Daridram Anantakang Dukham. Poverty-stricken masses do not get sufficient food. Any friend does not want to go in a poor's house. Poor do not get any opportunity to lead a smooth life, and loss of peace is seen in their family feuds. Love does not care for quail. So, Basanta Sena was failed in the love of Charadatta. Avantipuriyang Digasarthabahu Daridra Kila Charadatta Gunanurakta Ganika Jeshia Basanta Shokhiva Basanta Sena. And Basanta Sena what said? Tuste gunoir nihitadashi. And even today, if we see the pure love, do not care for oil or any other thing. And we could not see any confrontation between Vasanta Sena and Bhuta in the work of Sudraka. Bhuta accepted Vasanta Sena as her own sister. Could you imagine the great heart of Bhuta? The real love of Bhuta may not be forgettable matter, as she willfully accepted Vasanta Sena as another wife of her husband. The all sorts of antisocial activities were running in the time of Sudraka and also are running in our present society. The theft, gambling, corruption in the administration, etc. bound people to lead a miserable life. Even the monks were not freed also. Only the Brahmin enjoyed great honor. The Buddha monks were not allowed to clean their loincloth in the ponds of Shokaro. The brutality of the Brahminism compelled the lower strata of the society to adapt themselves with the Buddhism. So there times comes for the Hindu religion to consider how they will proceed at present moment. Sudraka nicely depicted the victory of truth over unreal, and the concluding verse of the play stands for peace, harmony and prosperity, which is also very essential at the moment. Sthirinya shantu gavo bhavantu vasumati sarva sampanna sasya varjanya kalavarshi sakala janamana nandini vantu vataha mudantang janma bhajaha masatam abhimata brahmana santu santah srimantah pantu pritting rasamita ripavo dharmanishtasya bhuva.
Thank you, Dr. Sudeep Chakrabarti. That was an interesting comparison between the socio-political scenario in Shudrak's time and the modern time. Any questions?
Madam, just I cannot elaborate the paper due to the positive time.
When we study relevance of any text, then I think we should have to study how that text is useful today.
Yes.
Not only to know the evil practices which were at that time which are
Yes.
so is it relevant? I am not sure about it.
Yes.
In Sanskrit literatures, there are very rare books which stands for the lower strata of the society. And just I want to show the position of lower strata at that moment and at present.
Thank you very much indeed. That was quite an interesting presentation. And when we talk of relevance, we talk of relevance in different types and different ways. I think Shudraka's Michakatikam is the only prakarana in Sanskrit literature which truly depicts the social scenario of its time, of the author's time, and the time in which the text was written. If you take it from a literateurs point of view, I think it presents quite an ideal example of how a socio-political scenario can be presented in the form of literature, which can be followed on by others to get the real picture of its author's time. So the relevance of a text can vary from its application to its presenting an ideal format of literary creativity, to the format of it presenting a picture of its own period in a more comprehensive manner. So when we talk of relevance, let's not limit ourselves to actual just application of a thought process or an idea or a principle in our limited framework of ideas. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now this afternoon's last paper, and I invite Dr. Ajay Mishra to present his paper. I must warn him right in the beginning that he has got exactly 10 minutes for presentation, followed by 2 minutes of discussion. Thank you.
It's a momentous moment for me to be over here with our most respectable madam, who have cultivated most of us. And after a long gap, I have got such type of golden opportunity over here. A lot of thanks, madam, and thanks to Dr. Tiwari madam and seniors as well as my friends. My topic of my paper is globalization, culture, and Sanskrit. The globalization is nothing but a tool of international market economy which controls the most of the phenomenon of human life, and it's quite natural. Literature is also one of the vital parts of human concern as well as think tank of media. Thus, globalization may be a weapon internationally for its own theory. The attempt of this paper is to divulge the relevance of Sanskrit language and literature through its ethics and ethos in the context of contemporary world of human being. But it's a globalization by which it is being attempted to extend the identity of self out a country or a culture at the cost of invested interest. It must also be noted that in very earlier, the slogan Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has already been advocated by our Indian seers, which may be a precursor of a global human understanding for all-around escalation of human society of the world civilization, like the concept of Aurobindo's Mahamanav. Indeed, the globalization of Indian culture began several millennia ago in India. What we are seeing today is only the effect of shrinking of the world. Thanks to the advancement of modern technology, culture expression in different forms are being shared today rather more rapidly than at any time in the past. And this is the boon that globalization has brought to us. With a click of the mouse, Indian residing abroad can get the latest happening in the world of literature, even in other spheres also. You can watch and read Ramayana, Mahabharata and other scriptures with utmost ease, even we are far from our roots and approach. And when we talk when we talk of globalization, culture is the first represent of its benefits and losses. Not only benefit, I am talking about losses also. But how we utilize the instruments and tools of the globalization in this context, in the swift of changing world that we are living, being a global citizen is an asset. Yet preserving the values that we have lived over the years in our necessity. Before addressing the question of globalization of Indian culture, it bears monitoring that culture is such a broad concept that it defines definition in a compact form. It encompasses numerous identifying features of a society to list detail. But so we have a good sense of what it is. Culture shapes our personality, we know, and has an enduring imprint in our consciousness. rooted as it is and mixture of popular philosophy, tradition, religion, history, myth, and legend. This consciousness evolved through several millennia, creating over successive generations a mindset, a value system, and a way of life. Going by the experience of some countries, however, even if a nation's culture is shaped over a long historical time period, it can over time become suppressed and even become extinct in the fact of dominant foreign culture. However, the strength of Indian culture is that it has retained its initial Indian character with remarkable continuity. Despite the passage of time, numerous foreign invasions, and a huge growth in population, our culture and civilizations have remained more or less intact to the present day. Talking about the state of the Indian culture, it was early as in the 3rd century, and in my understanding, from the 3rd century, the concept of globalization is already existing in our society, but its form is different. Number of Indians had settled in some parts of the Central Asia several years ago. Nowadays, it is being like NRI as well as personic feelings. More than 500,000 years who went from here. I am talking that respect. Fransang notes that by the 5th century AD, practically the whole of Central Asia had come under the influence of Indian religion and culture. Sanskrit and Prakrit along with local dialects. It's very important to note here. Dialects flourished in Central Asia, Asian countries well before the Christian era. Indeed, Indian culture had a significant impact on as far away Greece, Turkey, and several other countries as we have mentioned earlier, and we have talked regarding these things. The continuity of Indian culture is perhaps linked to India's long cherished ideal of openness and freedom. Since there is also openness and freedom, especially in regard to the economy and globalization, but we are philosophically as well as the discourse point of view, we have a lot of freedom at very early phase. In a famous innovation, the poet, last year we have celebrated the century of Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore speaks, where knowledge is free. Nowadays it's patent. Where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where the mind is laid forward into ever widening thought and section. It's a good and very burning example of more than 200, 300 years of the globalization concept which is presently going on in the world in other parts. Not surprisingly, Indians in their quest for knowledge and inspiration turned not only to the teachings of the Buddha went abroad with the message of globalization of Indian thought, intellectual and non-violent life. These things, Buddha, Gandhi or Tagore, but also to the works of Shakespeare, Welshausen, Tolstoy and other great writers, thinkers and artists. They interlinked to each other. We can refer to some of the works of some of the P.V. Shelley, who has referred a lot of references, metaphors of Agnis of Veda in their works. This is also a salient aspect of globalization, which has been a part of the Indian culture, and it has since this immortal interpretation. To think that globalization will have an adverse impact, I have already hinted regarding that, bad impact on the Indian culture and tradition, in my opinion, somewhat not clear. I am not sure in total the effect of globalization will be very bad. To some extent, in a specific like Sanskrit, globalization has more to offer than harm, in my understanding. However, we need to be cautious, for Sanskrit has been recognized as the mother of all Indian languages, as we have got some sort of different from the Tamils from that corner. I am not sure from that point of view. And Madam referred, I am in favor of the Madam's statement. This was the political statement. Many, many a time, Sanskrit plays a pivotal role in bringing about a radical changes in contemporary as well as historical aspects of Indian and world literature. Clearly, the diffusion of culture has been a two-way process over history. India is a land where all the major religions of the world flourished. Kusan, as we have talked, the Pahlavi, what to the confusion, but it's interesting thing for Indians culture. In 1921, Mahatma Gandhi virtually laid down India's culture policy. 1921, Gandhi laid down. He had written that he wants to the cultures of all the lands to the blown about his house as free as possible, as Gandhi advocated these things. This very thought from the father of the nation has been forgotten, unfortunately, and policy is being taken only from the financial point of view. India's great heritage of arts and crafts, of language and literature, of music and dance, or religion or philosophy, and the tradition ways of life and living have inspired not only Indians but also countless others who came to the associate with our country. They came and merged in our culture, like Kusan, Sak, Pahlavi, so many others. This is the effect of cultural effect of globalization, intellectual or the cultural intellectual ethos of globalization. Nothing. This is the very important factor that should be reconsidered, that should be revitalized in our contemporary scenario of the world civilization. That is now our culture has spread to different parts of the globe over the age. Migration too has a factor, especially over the last 150 years, as I already mentioned regarding the so many matters. And Madam has given me only lucky moments, 10 minutes. I will give 2 or 3 minutes. I'm very fortunate having here with my madam. Finally, today leading classical Indian musicians devote as much the effect of global, how we can utilize the formative meaning of globalization. I want to point it here out. Today, leading classical Indian musicians devotee as much as a third of their time overseas concert. The thousands who visit India to study yoga, Buddhism, and other aspects of Indian yogas, Madam already advocates the yogas culture, highlight the fact that globalization is increasingly a two-way street. One aspect of Indian globalization of Indian culture that has created particular awareness of this such in recent years in the impact of Indian cinema worldwide. Known globally today, Hollywood, it represents an interesting case of study of India's cultural globalization. Today, the Hindi film study industry alone churns out over 100 movies in every year. It's very important. And in that circumstances, Sanskrit, the people of Sanskrit, the scholar of Sanskrit are doing a lot through the channels, through the Astha, through the Sankaracharya. These films are being done. The effect of global relevance. In the early days of Indian cinema, our filmmakers were obviously influenced by Hollywood musicians. Today, they use a similar approach but adapted it subsequently to the Indian context so that they was little to Hollywood. Left in them, what they created was quintessentially Indian masses appeal entertain this very Indian film industry. Who would not remember the Rekha Azmat, Khan Shekhar, Suman Utsav, as my friend has referred the Michkatkam Utsav, the film on Michkatkam has already been filmed. For those who know, it might be not be surprised, but for many present here, let me inform the movie was based on Michkatkam as well as Adi Sankaracharya also. And others are being filmed. Besides Utsav, let me mention Adi Sankaracharya. Several Indian films rooted in the experience of the Sufara communities and targeted at mainstream audience in the West have been quite successful. Band in like Dakan is also a type of a movie which have great records. The increased interest in things Indian by yoga, Indian fashion, food, dance and music have brought frenzy to the larger process of globalization in Indian culture. globalization, rather than destroying culture, fills the cultural landscape with the greatest choice and richness. Today, you can just anyway. I have got the ultimatum. I recall my class where madam was used to. I stop from here and I will get the opportunity other for my further case. A lot of thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tiwari. You have been as brief and as precise as one could possibly be in the given context. You have actually presented more than one could do in the limited time of 10 minutes, so I congratulate you on that. And I would just like to make one small comment. I would not go into the presidential address simply because I like to act on the principles that I want others to act on. On globalization, and that's a very contentious topic for a person like me. Globalization is being tom-tommed as the panacea for all ills in the world. It is actually, according to me, I might be wrong, and if I am wrong, I stand corrected, one way of economic imperialism. I'll put it that way. Globalization is the modern day word for economic imperialism. It has to be, and one should not get very excited by this term globalization and start comparing it with the vision of the Indian mind that was about actual globalization, where we talked of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or we talked of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinas, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, or for that matter, Yatra Vishwam Bhavatyeka Needam. There is an entirely different context of these two ideas of globalization. Maybe someday I'll get an opportunity to share my views on globalization with this august audience. Right now, I must thank the 6 paper presenters. We began with Dr. Niranjan Purohit, Dr. Shashi Tiwari, Dr. Anju Seth, Dr. Daryush Akbarzadeh, followed by Dr. Sudeep Chakravarti and Dr. Ajay Tiwari. Ajay Mishra. I'm sorry, there are two Ajays here. I have called him Mishra for half my time. I won't apologize because my students know I don't remember names. I'm very bad at names.
It's my obligation. Nothing more.
And I have told this to them so many times that students who have done their graduation and their masters and even their PhD with me know she might just turn around and pronounce my name wrongly. So I won't be apologetic on that. But I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
So
Ajay is sufficient for me.
So Dr. Ajay Mishra, and these papers presented different angles of looking at the present in the view of the Sanskritists and how they could prove their relevance in the present context. One needs to think about it. One needs to be more proactive about it. And last but not the least, instead of talking in a cloistered atmosphere of Sanskritists, we need to reach out and get proactive in giving practical suggestions, practical work plans for making Sanskrit relevant, which it is. We only have to put it into action in the modern world. Thank you very much indeed.
सब आदमी मिलके रहते हैं, सब मिलते रहते हैं। ये सही कहती है, शुरू से मिलता ही कहती है।